Next week on Thursday, Chapter 28, Footprints in the Sand. I made myself busy with inconsequential tasks. I did what I could to overcome the raging battle in my head. I was running out of things to do when I thought of cleaning out my handbag. A miniature accordion telephone book fell out, accompanied by a tiny calculator and two slender pens, all engraved in gold letters, with compliments of Gloria and Harold Wiseman. I had forgotten about these complimentary gifts I had received over the months. The items went into my bedside drawer. To look at them was to remember the giver. It was too painful. I sighed and closed my eyes. The recollections marched in despite my resolve to keep them at bay. "It's George. Do you like your old computer?" I heard a muffled chuckle at the end of the phone line. George assisted Harold in the hobby horse business he operated out of the basement of the office building. "Not really," I laughed. "Did you manage to fix it?" He sounded amused. "Come and pick it up from my house. It's ready." I pulled up on George's driveway and my jaw dropped when he emerged from the house. He carried a brand new drive, keyboard, and mouse. George grinned and looked pleased with himself. "Mr. Wiseman instructed me to build you a new one. Boss's orders. It's a gift." The boss was aware that my legal expenses left me without a penny to spare. Sweet, kind man. My eyes strayed to the laptop bag housing my hefty legal file. I was swept right back onto the memory mobile. "I have something for you," Harold said out of the blue one Thursday afternoon, pointing to a handsome black bag on his desk. He beamed when I thanked him, waved aside my words of gratitude, and said, "We have too many of them in stock." "Yes, but you thought of me. I'd never have bought one for myself." My chest constricted. I became conscious of the pain that had recently taken up residence somewhere in my rib cage. I couldn't hold the mind movies. They kept on surging in and rolling on. "Do you play the piano?" I inquired, observing the length of Harold's slender fingers. The nails were cracked and broken, yellowing at the tips. He tapped on his keyboard and the letters tiptoed hesitantly onto the screens. "No, but I used to play the mandolin as a student." I was intrigued and enchanted. "The mandolin? How romantic! Like a medieval troubadour." Amusement sparkled in his eyes. He reached for the desk drawer and drew out a palm-sized digital camera. He focused shakily, and the flash went off with a click. I blinked. "What was that about?" He tapped. "Now I can have your smile whenever I need it." We sat for some seconds in a cocoon of quiet. Priceless, cherished moments when words became redundant. A shadow shoved aside the fleeting mood of joy. Harold's countenance clouded over. He tapped. "Lisa gave us a scare." "What happened?" "We got a call from Jordan on Sunday night asking if we knew where his mom was. He said she had taken off somewhere up north. She told the kids she'll be back on Sunday afternoon." Jordan was Lisa's 16-year-old son, Harold's grandson. We were worried sick. We were that close to calling the police. I leaned forward. Did she come back? The fingers did a spider crawl. She finally showed up. And you had to cope with melodrama on top of everything else. I'm sorry? A trite platitude. Did she have an explanation? Harold wore a resigned look as his fingers labored once more. No, she said she needed to get away. She reminded me that she is like me. She is. That put an end to any further argument. Gloria told me she wasn't coping well with your illness. He looked sad. She isn't. This was the difficult oldest child. Child? She's my age. His fingers limped across the keyboard. A corny joke snaked its way onto the screens. Our eyes met and gleamed in unison. We shook with shared merriment until he began to gag and choke on his saliva. I jerked to attention and ran to his side. Why was the camera in the desk drawer? Why did he take the picture? Premonition? The phone rang. My eyes flew open. I was jarred back to the present. George's voice came through. Selena, I'm sorry, I've been held up at the office. Harold needs some legal documents delivered and I've been kicking my heels off all afternoon. They're not ready yet. Don't worry about it. It's not an urgent matter. It's just the antivirus acting up. Come any day next week. But I feel bad to keep you waiting like this. He persisted. It's not a big deal, really. My anxiety spilled over. George, how is Harold? Well, good, but not good. You know what I mean? I knew what he meant. Please, will you tell him I said hello? I will, George replied, and I'll be there on Thursday afternoon. George had been neglectful with conveying messages before. I wasn't going to hold my breath about this one. Thursday morning came. I opened my eyes on the edge of tears. George knocked at the door at about 4 o'clock. We chatted while the computer rebooted. He nursed a mug of coffee and I bent over my needlework frame and embroidery floss. No, he said in response to my urgent question. I haven't met Harold since you and I last talked. I haven't been able to convey your message. It's been 2 weeks since I saw him. I don't want to go down to the office because, well, his time there is limited and I can't call, because he can't speak. George, will you tell him I'm thinking of him and miss him, please? I will. The lawyer's sidekick and General Dog's body blinked owlishly and nodded. He looked like a huge, unperturbed bear. Please, please don't let him forget. The words of the poem, Footprints in the Sand, kept running through my head as I sat in the chair by my bed in the wee hours of the morning. One night I dreamt I was walking along the beach with the Lord. I wondered why. The frenetic, self-imposed activity of the day kept my mind occupied and my thoughts on a tight leash. I kept myself too busy to be aware of the perpetual prickle of pain piercing my heart. David and I attended a memorial service in the evening. As I sat in the packed church with soaring walls and hard pews, I heard the inner me say, God, I have no more faith to believe for Harold's healing. You're going to have to inject a supernatural portion of faith in me. A sense of unease coiled and stirred within. I kicked off my high heels some hours later, eager to bid farewell to an endless day. I glanced at the clock when the phone rang. It was past 9:30. "Yes, she is," I heard David say, handing the cordless receiver over. His face was inscrutable. "Hello?" "Selina, this is Norma from Mr. Wiseman's office." The bookkeeper. I turned ice cold. On a Saturday night? "I called to let you know that Mr. Wiseman passed away an hour ago." Norma's words sounded disjointed in my ear, as if they came from another plane. A deep wail rose inside me. No, no, oh God, no! To be continued.